Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! Amidst the mundane city blocks, Jason stumbled upon a peculiar sight, a quaint shop, seemingly plucked from a different era. Nestled between a bustling laundromat and a once vibrant record store, it beckoned with enigmatic allure. A handmade sign, its gold letters dancing in the soft light, proclaimed Curios and Eccentricities. This, after a late night at the lab, testing his mental faculties. Drawn by this unusual addition to his familiar path, he paused, contemplating the sudden appearance. His curiosity got the better of him as his worn leather shoes stepped towards the door. Upon entering, he was enveloped in a symphony of sensations. The tinkle of a bell above announced his arrival. An aroma, a blend of ancient tomes and esoteric incenses, filled his senses. An elderly woman with silver hair tied in a tight bun sat behind the counter, her fingers steepled together. "Just browsing," Jason said, avoiding eye contact. The woman nodded, but remained silent, her dark eyes following him as he moved through the cramped aisles. In the back corner, a collection of small bottles caught his attention. They stood on a dusty shelf, each containing liquids of different colors. One particular bottle, filled with a shimmering pink fluid, seemed to call to him. A yellowed label on the bottle read, "Essence of True Self." Jason picked it up, turning it in his hands. "How much for this?" The old woman appeared beside him so suddenly that he nearly dropped the bottle. "That one is special. It shows you who you really are inside."
"Right,"
Jason chuckled.
"And I suppose it grants wishes too?"
The woman's expression remained unchanged.
$20.
Something compelled him to buy it. Perhaps it was the stress of his graduate program, or the loneliness he'd felt since moving across the country for school. Either way, he handed over the money and slipped the bottle into his backpack. Back at his apartment, Jason tossed his keys onto the counter and dropped his backpack on the sofa. He'd been sharing the place with his sister Emma for 3 months now. She had taken him in when he couldn't afford the university's housing on his limited stipend. "Em?" he called out. The apartment remained silent. She must be working late again. Jason pulled out the bottle and examined it under the harsh kitchen lights. The liquid inside seemed to shift and sparkle, almost alive with movement. "Essence of True Self," he read aloud, scoffing. "What a load of garbage!" Still, curiosity nagged at him. He unscrewed the cap, and a sweet scent wafted up, something between strawberries and vanilla. Before he could reconsider, he tipped the bottle back and swallowed a small sip. The liquid tasted pleasant enough, like strawberry milk. Jason waited, feeling foolish. Of course, nothing would happen. He'd wasted $20 on colored sugar water. About to put the bottle away, a sudden warmth spread through his chest, radiating outward to his limbs. The sensation wasn't unpleasant, more like slipping into a hot bath after being out in the cold.
"Whoa,"
he whispered, steadying himself against the counter as a wave of dizziness passed over him. Images flickered in his mind. Flashes of pink fabric, glossy lips, long hair flipping over a shoulder. His fingers tingled with the urge to touch soft materials, to apply makeup, to transform. "What the hell?" He shook his head, trying to clear it, but the images only intensified. Without fully understanding why, Jason found himself walking toward his sister's bedroom. Emma was almost the same size as him, though she was 2 years older. They'd always been told they looked alike, Same brown eyes, same square jaw, though Emma had grown her hair long and dyed it auburn years ago. Standing in her doorway, Jason fought against the urge pulling him toward her closet. This was ridiculous. Whatever was in that bottle was messing with his head.
"I should lie down,"
he said aloud, but his feet carried him forward instead. His hands trembled as he opened Emma's closet door. Her clothes hung neatly organized by color and type. His fingers reached out, touching a pink pleated miniskirt. The fabric felt right somehow, comforting under his fingertips.
"This is insane,"
Jason whispered, even as he pulled the skirt from its hanger. Next came a white crop top that Emma had worn to a concert last month. He laid these items on her bed, his heart racing. The compulsion grew stronger with each passing moment. He needed to try them on, needed to see himself in them. In Emma's dresser, he found a padded bra. Holding it felt strangely familiar, though he'd never worn one before. In her bathroom, he discovered makeup scattered across the counter. Lip gloss, mascara, blush. "I'm losing my mind," he said, but his voice sounded different already, higher, softer around the edges. In the back of Emma's closet, he found what he didn't even realize he was searching for. A wig stand with a long auburn wig. Emma had bought it for a costume party last Halloween, but had decided against wearing it. Jason carried his findings back to his own room, locking the door behind him. With hands that seemed to know exactly what they were doing, he stripped off his jeans and t-shirt. He slid the padded bra on, stuffing it with socks to create the illusion of breasts. The white crop top followed, then the pink miniskirt. Standing before his mirror, Jason barely recognized himself. The clothes fit surprisingly well, hugging curves he didn't know he had. But something was still missing. He needed to complete the transformation. He returned to Emma's bathroom, gathering her makeup supplies. Back in his room, he applied foundation, blush, mascara, and a shimmering pink lip gloss. His hands moved with unexpected skill, as if he'd done this hundreds of times before. Finally, he positioned the auburn wig on his head, adjusting it until it looked natural. Long, shiny locks fell past his shoulders, framing his face. The person in the mirror wasn't Jason anymore. "Oh my God," he gasped, then giggled at how his voice had changed. "I look like totally amazing!" The words tumbled out without thought, complete with an upward inflection at the end of the sentence. He clapped a hand over his mouth, startled. "What is happening to me?" But even this question came out in a Valley Girl cadence. Jason, no, not Jason anymore, turned from side to side, admiring how the skirt swished around his thighs. The name Juliet floated into his mind, feeling infinitely more right than his birth name ever had. "I'm Juliet," she said, testing it out. "Juliet! Oh my God, that's like perfect!" She flipped her auburn hair and struck a pose, one hand on her hip. Everything about this felt natural, as if she'd been suppressing this side of herself for years. The potion hadn't created anything new. It had merely revealed what was always there, buried beneath layers of societal expectations. A key turned in the front door lock. Emma was home. Panic flashed through Juliet, but only for a moment. A strange confidence replaced it almost immediately. She wanted Emma to see her, to know her true self. "Jason?" Emma called. "You home?" Taking a deep breath, Juliet opened her bedroom door and stepped into the hallway. "In here!" Emma appeared around the corner, still in her nurse's scrubs from her hospital shift. She froze mid-step, eyes widening. What the actual... So, don't freak out, Juliet said, flipping her auburn hair. I know this is totes unexpected, but I've kinda had this revelation. Emma stared, keys still in hand. Jason, what are you doing in my clothes? And is that my wig from last Halloween? First of all, I'm Juliet now, she corrected, the Valley Girl inflection becoming more pronounced. And second, I know this seems crazy, but I drank this potion thing from this super weird shop, and now I'm finally being my authentic self. Emma's expression shifted from shock to concern. Are you drunk? Or is this some kind of joke? As if. Juliet twirled, the pink skirt flaring around her thighs. This is the real me, Em. I've, been hiding forever, and it feels so good to finally be free. Emma approached cautiously, setting her bag down. Jason, you've never shown any interest in cross-dressing before. What's really going on? Stop calling me Jason! It's Juliet! She stamped her foot, surprised by her own reaction. And this isn't just cross-dressing. This is who I am now. Emma looked past her into Jason's room, spotting the small bottle on the nightstand. What did you drink?
Show me.
Juliet followed her gaze. It's just this potion thingy. The label said, Essence of True Self, or whatever. Emma grabbed the bottle, examining the remaining liquid. Where did you get this? We need to get you to a hospital.
No way.
Juliet snatched the bottle back. I'm fine. Better than fine. I feel amazing. Jason, Juliet. Fine, Juliet, Emma conceded, clearly humoring her. People don't just change personalities from drinking random liquids. I'm worried about you. Juliet plopped down on the sofa, crossing her legs demurely. You don't need to worry. This is just who I was supposed to be all along. She pulled out her phone and opened the camera app, examining her reflection. Though I could totally use, a mani-pedi? These nails are so tragic. Emma sat beside her, studying her face. Your speech pattern is completely different. The way you're moving, your mannerisms. It's like you're a different person. Duh, that's what I've been saying! Juliet rolled her eyes. The old me was just like this shell I was living in. This is the real me! Emma ran a hand through her own auburn hair, the same shade as the wig Juliet now wore. Let me get this straight. You drank some mysterious liquid from a shop, and now you believe you're a valley girl named Juliet? When you say it like that, it sounds totally cray-cray, Juliet giggled. But yeah, that's the sitch. Show me this shop, Emma demanded. Right now. Juliet shrugged. Whatevs, let me just grab my purse. She returned to her room, finding a messenger bag she used for school and emptying the engineering textbooks onto the bed. The sight of advanced thermodynamics and fluid mechanics no longer interested her. Instead, she felt a strange aversion to them, as if they belonged to someone else entirely. When she returned to the living room, Emma was waiting by the door, keys in hand. Let's go. We're walking, right? Juliet asked. These platform sandals are cute, but I don't think I can drive in them yet. Emma stared at her feet. When did you get those? Juliet looked down, surprised to see she was indeed wearing platform sandals she didn't recognize. I don't know. They were just in my room? Emma's frown deepened, but she said nothing as they left the apartment. The walk to the shop took 20 minutes, with Juliet chattering the entire way about fashion trends and social media influencers she suddenly had opinions about. Emma remained silent, occasionally glancing sideways at her transformed sibling with growing concern. When they reached the spot between the laundromat and record store, Juliet stopped. It was right here. There was nothing but a vacant storefront with a for lease sign in the window. That's impossible! Juliet exclaimed. It was literally here like 3 hours ago. Emma approached the empty shop, peering through the dusty windows. There's nothing here, Jules. It looks like it's been empty for months. But I swear... Juliet began, then stopped. Had she just accepted the nickname Jules without question? It felt right, somehow. Let's go home, Emma said gently. I think you need rest. Back at the apartment, Juliet couldn't bring herself to change out of the feminine clothes. The thought of putting on her old jeans and t-shirts filled her with inexplicable dread. I'm not changing back, she announced as Emma made them both tea. These clothes feel right. Emma set a mug in front of her. What about school? Your engineering program? You can't just show up like this tomorrow? The mention of her graduate studies made Juliet wince. Oh my God, engineering is so boring now. All those numbers and formulas? Gag me with a spoon. You've worked toward this degree for years, Emma reminded her. You can't throw it away because of whatever this is. Juliet sipped her tea, pinky finger extended automatically. Maybe I'll switch to something else. Fashion design, communications, something that doesn't make me want to fall asleep. Emma studied her for a long moment. Let's make a deal. Sleep on this. If you still feel the same way tomorrow, we'll figure it out. But please consider that you might not be thinking clearly right now. Fine, whatevs. Juliet agreed, though she already knew her mind wouldn't change. This wasn't temporary. The person she'd been before was gone, replaced by someone who finally felt authentic. That night, lying in bed, still wearing the white crop top and pink skirt, Juliet scrolled through social media, finding herself drawn to beauty influencers and fashion accounts she'd never followed before. She added dozens to her feed, absorbing their content with newfound fascination. Before falling asleep, she checked the bottle on her nightstand. The liquid inside had evaporated completely, leaving behind a faint, sparkly residue. Somehow, she knew the transformation was permanent. Jason was gone for good. Only Juliet remained. Morning arrived with sunlight streaming through her window. Juliet stretched, immediately aware of something different. Her chest felt heavier. Glancing down, she gasped. Where the padded bra had created the illusion of breasts, there now appeared to be actual feminine curves. No way, she whispered, sitting up and examining herself in the mirror across the room. Her face looked softer somehow, features more delicate. Even her body shape seemed different. Waist narrower, hips wider. She rushed to the bathroom, locking the door behind her. Removing the wig, she discovered her own hair had somehow grown several inches overnight and lightened to a natural auburn color, identical to the wig. The physical changes weren't dramatic enough to be impossible. They could be explained by diet, exercise, hormone therapy, but Juliet knew the truth. The potion was changing her, inside and out. A knock at the bathroom door startled her. Jules, you okay in there? Emma called. Totally fine. Juliet quickly repositioned the wig, though she realized she might not need it much longer. Just doing my morning routine. Morning routine. The words triggered something in her mind. A complete understanding of skincare steps, makeup application techniques, and hairstyling methods she'd never consciously learned. When she emerged from the bathroom 45 minutes later, her face was perfectly made up, her auburn hair styled in loose waves. She'd applied the knowledge that had appeared in her mind overnight, resulting in a flawless feminine appearance. Emma was in the kitchen, cooking breakfast. She turned as Juliet entered, and her spatula clattered to the floor. "How did you look different." Juliet twirled. "I know, right? The potion is still working its magic." "That's not possible," Emma said, but her voice lacked conviction as she stared at her siblings' subtly changed features. "Totally possible," Juliet countered, grabbing a yogurt from the fridge. "And I've decided I'm dropping out of the engineering program. It's so not me anymore." Emma sighed, picking up the fallen spatula. "You can't make that decision right now. At least take a leave of absence instead of dropping out completely." "Fine," Juliet agreed, spooning yogurt delicately into her mouth. "But I need to go shopping today. These borrowed clothes aren't going to work forever." "With what money? Your stipend barely covers your portion of the rent." Juliet hadn't considered this. "Maybe I could, get a job at the mall? Retail would be perfect for me now." Emma pinched the bridge of her nose. "You have a job as a research assistant. That pays for your tuition." "Ugh, so boring," Juliet groaned. "But I guess I could take a leave from school and keep the RA position for now, at least until I figure things out." "That's actually reasonable," Emma admitted, surprised. "But you can't go to the lab dressed like this without explanation. People will have questions." Juliet considered this. "I'll email my advisor today. Say I need time off for personal reasons. They don't need to know the details right away." After breakfast, Emma reluctantly agreed to take Juliet shopping. They visited several stores, with Juliet gravitating toward bright colors, feminine patterns, and revealing cuts. Her confidence in selecting clothes, knowing her size, and putting together outfits seemed to come naturally. "How are you paying for all this?" Emma asked, as Juliet handed over a credit card at the register. "My emergency savings," Juliet replied, signing the receipt with a flourish that ended in a heart over the I in Juliet Honnêt's. "This totally counts as an emergency." By the end of the day, Juliet had a complete wardrobe of feminine clothes, accessories, shoes, and makeup. She'd also scheduled appointments for a manicure, pedicure, and proper haircut to blend her rapidly growing natural hair with the wig she still wore. Over the next week, the physical changes accelerated. Her voice stabilized at a higher pitch without effort. Her facial hair stopped growing entirely. Her natural auburn hair reached past her shoulders, allowing her to discard the wig. Her body continued its subtle transformation. Nothing impossible, but changes that would typically take months of hormone therapy were happening in days. Emma watched the metamorphosis with a mixture of concern and reluctant acceptance. After several failed attempts to locate the mysterious shop or any information about the potion, she seemed to realize this change might truly be permanent. "I spoke with Dr. Chen today," Juliet announced one evening, 2 weeks after her transformation began. They were sitting in the living room, Emma reviewing patient charts while Juliet painted her nails a glittering pink. "He approved my leave of absence, but I can keep my research assistant position if I handle the data analysis remotely." Emma looked up, surprised. "That's good news. I thought you were going to quit entirely." "As if I'd give up my only source of income." Juliet rolled her eyes. "I'm not stupid, just different. Besides, the analysis part is basically just running programs and interpreting results. I can totally do that from home while watching my beauty tutorials." Emma smiled slightly. there's still some of the old you in there, I guess.
Maybe,
Juliet conceded, blowing on her wet nails. But honestly, I've never been happier. Like, for real. I always felt like I was pretending before, trying to be someone I wasn't. Now, everything just makes sense. If this is really who you are, then I support you, Emma said quietly. I just wish it hadn't happened so suddenly with some mysterious potion. Normal transitions give people time to adjust. True, but would you have believed me if I'd gradually said I wanted to transition? After 25 years of being your brother with no signs of gender dysphoria? Emma considered this. Probably not without a lot of questions, but this way, I didn't get a choice either. Life's funny that way, Juliet said, admiring her completed manicure. Sometimes the universe knows what you need before you do. As weeks turned into months, Juliet's new identity solidified. She legally changed her name and gender marker. She continued working remotely for the engineering department, surprising herself with her ability to compartmentalize her Valley Girl persona enough to complete technical work when needed. The physical changes stabilized after about 6 months, leaving her with a naturally feminine appearance that rarely drew second glances. Her mannerisms, speech patterns, and interests remained dramatically different from her previous life, but she'd found a balance that worked, capable of serious thought when required, but happiest when embracing her bubbly, fashion-focused personality. 1 year after her transformation, Juliet stood outside the university administration building, smoothing down her pink blazer and matching skirt. Her auburn hair was pulled back in a professional ponytail, though a few artfully arranged tendrils framed her face. "You sure about this?" Emma asked beside her, dressed in her hospital scrubs after finishing a night shift. "Totally," Juliet replied, though her voice held less of the Valley Girl affectation than usual. "It's time." They entered the building together, making their way to the office of the Dean of Engineering. Juliet had scheduled this meeting weeks ago, preparing meticulously for what she wanted to say. "Ms. Blake," the dean greeted her, rising from behind his desk as they entered.
"And Ms. Blake,"
he added with a nod to Emma.
"Please, have a seat."
Juliet sat primly, crossing her legs at the ankle. "Thank you for meeting with me, Dean Gordon."
"Your research work these past months has been excellent,"
he said, referencing a file on his desk.
"Dr. Chen speaks highly of your contributions, even working remotely."
"Thank you," Juliet smiled. "That's partly why I'm here. I'd like to discuss returning to the program." The dean's eyebrows rose. "I was under the impression you were planning to withdraw permanently." "I considered it," Juliet admitted. "But I've realized I can be both the person I am now and an engineer. They're not mutually exclusive."
"I see."
Dean Gordon leaned back in his chair.
"And you believe you can manage the coursework and lab time while continuing your significant personal changes?"
"My transition is essentially complete," Juliet said firmly. "And I've kept up with all research responsibilities during my absence. My personal presentation doesn't affect my intellectual capabilities." Emma spoke up. "My sister has maintained a perfect record with Dr. Chen's team despite everything. Her dedication to the field hasn't changed, even if other things have." The dean studied Juliet for a long moment.
"There will be challenges. Not everyone will be immediately accepting."
"Story of my life," Juliet shrugged, a hint of her Valley Girl inflection returning. "But I'm totally prepared for that." A small smile crossed the dean's face.
"Very well, Ms. Blake. I'll approve your return for the spring semester. Dr. Chen has already agreed to continue as your advisor."
"That's fantastic news!" Juliet beamed. Thank you so much. Outside, after the meeting, Emma hugged her tightly. I'm proud of you, Jules. Really proud. Thanks, Em. Juliet squeezed back. Couldn't have done it without you. They walked across campus together, Juliet's heels clicking on the pavement. Several students glanced their way, a few doing double takes as they recognized the former Jason Blake in her new identity. You know it won't always be easy, Emma cautioned. Some people won't understand. I know, Juliet nodded. But the potion didn't just change my appearance or speech. It gave me confidence I never had before. I'm not afraid to be seen anymore. They stopped at a coffee shop on the edge of campus. While waiting for their drinks, Juliet noticed a familiar figure entering, the elderly woman from the curiosity shop, silver hair still tied in a tight bun. Oh my God! Juliet gasped, grabbing Emma's arm. That's her! The woman from the shop! Without waiting for Emma's response, Juliet approached the woman, who was studying the menu board. Excuse me, she said, heart racing. You owned the curiosity shop, right? The one with the potions? The woman turned, dark eyes showing no surprise. Ah, the engineer who found his true self. Her, Juliet corrected automatically. I found her true self. A hint of a smile touched the woman's lips. Indeed. How are you finding your new life, Juliet? You know my name? Juliet asked, startled. I know many things, the woman replied cryptically, including that you've finally accepted both sides of yourself. Emma joined them, coffee in hand. So, you're the one responsible for my sister's transformation? The woman shook her head. I merely provided the catalyst. The essence reveals. It doesn't create. Your sister was always Juliet, underneath the surface. But the shop disappeared, Juliet said. We went back the same day, and it was gone. The shop appears where and when it's needed, the woman explained, accepting her tea from the barista. No sooner, no longer. Why me? Juliet asked. Why was I drawn to your shop, to that specific potion? The woman sipped her tea thoughtfully. Some souls struggle longer than others to find their path. The essence merely accelerated your journey. Will I stay this way forever? Juliet asked, lowering her voice. Sometimes I worry I'll wake up and the effects will have worn off. The essence doesn't wear off, the woman assured her. It revealed your truth. That truth cannot be undone. She placed a hand briefly on Juliet's arm. But take comfort, knowing your analytical mind remains intact beneath the Valley Girl exterior. Both aspects are genuinely you, the feminine and the intellectual. Finding balance between them is your next challenge. With that, the woman turned to leave. Juliet called after her. Will I ever see you or the shop again? The woman paused at the door. Those who have found their truth rarely need us twice. Live well, Juliet Blake. She stepped outside and seemed to vanish into the crowd of students. Emma and Juliet exchanged bewildered looks. Did that really just happen? Emma asked. Totally, Juliet confirmed, her Valley Girl speech pattern returning. But you know what? I'm not even surprised anymore. They took their coffees to a bench overlooking the engineering building where Juliet would soon return to classes. What she said about balance, Emma began. Does that make sense to you? Juliet considered this, absently twirling a strand of auburn hair around her finger. Kind of. Like, I can be obsessed with fashion and makeup and still rock thermodynamics? I don't have to choose between being feminine and being smart? Exactly, Emma nodded. You're both Juliet the Valley Girl and Dr. Blake the future engineer. Neither cancels out the other. I think I'm finally okay with that, Juliet said, her voice momentarily losing its affected tone. For a while, I thought I had to reject everything about my old self, but some parts were actually worth keeping. She pulled out her phone, checking her reflection in the camera and adjusting a strand of auburn hair. Her other hand reached into her designer purse, extracting a notebook filled with complex equations. After all, she continued with a smile that bridged both worlds, who says I can't solve differential equations while rocking the perfect manicure? Emma laughed, bumping shoulders with her sister. No one who knows you, that's for sure. Together, they watched students stream in and out of the engineering building. Juliet's past and future converging in one place. The journey ahead wouldn't be easy, but for the first time in her life, she was moving forward as her complete self. The essence had revealed her truth, but Juliet would define what that truth meant on her own terms. One pink high heel in front of the other.
Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!